Evelyn Carter had always chased forgotten stories, but nothing prepared her for the Holloway Hotel. Perched on a fog-shrouded ridge in the Smoky Mountains, its weathered facade seemed alive with whispered secrets. The locals crossed themselves and hurried past, mumbling about shadows that lingered long after sunset. As Evelyn stepped onto the creaking wooden porch, a chill ran down her spine. Something buried beneath this hotel didn't want to be found. Will you dare to uncover it with her? Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story from history's shadows. Evelyn spent her first morning in the tiny, Smoky Mountain town gathering details. The sun struggled to pierce the thick canopy of pines, and a low mist clung to the edges of every building. She wandered toward the small general store, a squat, wooden structure with peeling paint. Hoping to speak with the locals. Inside, the smell of pine resin and wood smoke mixed with the faint tang of preserved meat. An elderly woman behind the counter looked up, her eyes narrowing as Evelyn approached. "You're here about the Holloway place, ain't you?" she asked in a gravelly voice, leaning heavily on the counter. Evelyn nodded. "Yes, I'm writing an article about its history." The woman shook her head slowly. "History? Lord, girl, some things are best left forgotten. That hotel. It's got blood in its walls." Evelyn's pen hovered over her notebook. Blood? The woman's gaze darkened. Disappearances. Folks gone without a trace. Some say the Holloways. They've got their own ways of keeping things. Quiet. Strange sounds, shadows moving when no one's there. People talk, but they don't like to be heard. Leaving the store, Evelyn felt the weight of the mountains pressing in. Every twisted route, every rocky incline seemed to hide secrets. She took note of the whispers she'd overheard at the hotel's porch the night before. Staff murmuring about the hollow beneath and things that never die. She scribbled furiously in her notebook, every line a lifeline to truth in the midst of superstition. Later, she wandered the edge of the town cemetery where the ground sloped sharply into the mist-filled valley. Old, cracked gravestones leaned toward her as if trying to warn her off. She noted names she had read in old newspapers, some of them patrons of the Holloway Hotel decades ago suddenly vanished from records without explanation. The air was thick with melancholy, but beneath it lurked something darker, a quiet dread that seemed almost tangible. Tom Whitaker, a local woodsman and guide she had hired for the journey, approached her cautiously. Broad-shouldered and weathered from years in the forest, he carried an aura of someone who had seen more than he cared to remember. "Don't wander too far near that hotel," he said, his tone edged with warning. "There's things there that aren't meant to be found. Even the old folks won't talk about it too much." Evelyn looked at him, curiosity burning brighter than caution. "But what is it? What's beneath the hotel?" Tom shook his head. "I don't rightly know, and that's why I keep my distance. There are stories. Some say it's a cellar, some say worse. People who've tried to pry, they don't come back the same, or don't come back at all." The wind rustled through the trees as Evelyn considered his words. The hotel's shadow seemed to stretch farther into the mountains with each passing hour, an unspoken warning etched into its very timbers. The locals' fear was contagious, but Evelyn's resolve only strengthened. The Holloway Hotel's dark secret was a story waiting to be unearthed, and she had come too far to turn back. That evening, she returned to the hotel, notebook in hand, with the mist curling around her ankles like ghostly fingers. The sun dipped behind the mountains, leaving the Holloway Hotel in a creeping darkness, and the faintest flicker of candlelight danced in an upstairs window. Evelyn shivered. Something was watching. Something wanted her to leave, but she couldn't. Not now. Not when the story was so close, so palpable. The first night inside the Holloway Hotel was unlike anything Evelyn had anticipated. The wind howled through the mountain pines, rattling the shutters, while the timbers groaned beneath the weight of decades. Shadows pooled in the corners of the dimly lit parlor, stretching unnaturally, as if alive. Every creak of the floorboards made her heart jump, though she reminded herself it was merely an old building settling. Evelyn unpacked her notebook and lamp on the small desk in her room, the faint scent of dust and wood polish thick in the air. A candle flickered beside her, throwing long, wavering shadows across the walls. As she wrote, she noticed something strange, a draft that should not have existed. The window was tightly shut, yet cold air whispered across the page, fluttering the edges of her notes. The first real sign came when she heard the softest whisper outside the door. "Evelyn." It called. She froze, her pen hovering mid-sentence. Another whisper followed, almost teasing, as if testing her courage. Her heartbeat quickened. "Just the wind," she muttered to herself, trying to remain rational. Later, a low groan echoed through the hallway, followed by the distinct sound of footsteps pacing above her ceiling. The hotel had 3 floors, and she was certain the upper rooms were empty. Trembling, she leaned out into the hallway. The flickering candlelight revealed peeling wallpaper, a moth scuttling across the floor, and nothing else. No sign of staff, no other guests. Only silence broken by the faintest thump. As if someone had fallen. By midnight, the occurrences became harder to ignore. Doors that she was certain she had closed creaked open on their own. Mirrors reflected fleeting images she could not comprehend. A shadow passing too fast, a silhouette disappearing behind a door, a figure that never truly stood still. She jotted notes frantically, her hand shaking as the candle sputtered against the chill dot in the early hours. Evelyn discovered strange symbols carved into the wooden beams in the corner of her room. Deep scratches, weathered by time, etched into the old oak, formed patterns she had never seen before. Some resembled letters, others abstract, almost ritualistic. She ran her fingers over them, her skin prickling. These markings were not recent. They were decades old, but they had been deliberately hidden from plain sight. A sudden knock at her door jolted her from her investigation. "Evelyn," a voice called softly. She leapt up, her heart hammering. Tom, the woodsman guide, had returned, concern etched on his rugged face. "You shouldn't be alone here at night," he warned. "The hotel. It reacts to curiosity. The more you pry, the more it shows itself. And not all of it is safe." Evelyn swallowed hard, but her determination remained unshaken. "I can't ignore this, Tom. Something is beneath this hotel. I can feel it." Tom's eyes darkened. "Just keep your wits. Don't go searching in the dark without a plan. And don't trust what you hear or see. It's not all what it seems." As he left, the whispers returned, rising and falling like the wind itself had gained a voice. Evelyn shivered, knowing sleep would not come easily. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, but the pull of the hidden truth was stronger. She realized with a chill certainty that the Holloway Hotel was not merely a building. It was alive in some inexplicable way, guarding secrets that had festered beneath its floors for decades. And somewhere in the darkness, something was waiting for her. The next morning, Evelyn awoke to a faint haze of sunlight filtering through the thick curtains. The previous night's chills and whispers still lingered in her memory, gnawing at her curiosity. Determined to uncover more, she grabbed her notebook and lamp and set out to explore the hotel's off-limits areas. The grand staircase groaned beneath her boots as she ascended to the second floor, where the hallways narrowed and the air grew cooler. Paintings of stern-faced ancestors lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow her every move. Some were so old the varnish had yellowed, giving the portraits a lifelike, almost unsettling glow. She paused before a particularly grim painting, noting the date carved into the frame, 1878. A nameplate read, Edward Holloway, founder of the hotel. Beyond the portraits, she found a narrow door marked Staff Only. It rattled slightly when she pushed, but gave way after a firm pull. Inside was a forgotten storage area, shelves thick with dust and cobwebs. Stacks of leather-bound ledgers and old newspapers lay in disarray. Evelyn carefully flipped through a ledger from 1895, discovering records of guests who had vanished shortly after checking in. The names were eerily familiar. Some she had read about in the local cemetery. Further exploration led her to a small, unassuming trapdoor in the far corner of the storage room. The wood was warped and nearly invisible beneath layers of dust, but the hinges were solid and seemed recently oiled. She hesitated, feeling a tremor of fear. Something told her this was not a mere maintenance closet. Lighting her lamp, she carefully lifted the trapdoor, revealing a dark crawl space that descended into shadow. Before venturing further, Evelyn noticed faint scratches on the wooden beams around the door. They formed strange symbols, similar to those she had found in her room the previous night. Some appeared ritualistic, others almost like letters. Her pulse quickened. These markings were deliberate, centuries old, yet somehow preserved, as if the hotel itself had been waiting for someone to notice. Curiosity pushed her forward. She crawled into the narrow passage, the smell of damp earth and old wood filling her nostrils. The crawl space opened into a small, hidden room, walls lined with dusty shelves and crates. On one shelf, she discovered old black and white photographs of guests who had stayed at the hotel decades ago, all staring at the camera with stiff, serious expressions. Many had been reported missing. Others had strange scratches on their hands or faces, as though they had been part of some unholy ritual. Evelyn's hands trembled as she examined a faded map pinned to the wall. It detailed the hotel's original construction, highlighting secret tunnels and hidden rooms beneath the main floors. One corridor, labeled simply the Hollow, led directly beneath the hotel's foundation. A cold shiver ran down her spine. Everything she had feared was real. The Holloway Hotel concealed a network of secrets, carefully buried and long forgotten. She also found letters tucked inside the map's frame, written in hurried, shaky handwriting. One read, "Do not enter the cellar. It hungers. The family knows. Trust no one." Another note, yellowed and brittle, warned, "The rituals must not be disturbed. Leave while you still can." Evelyn's mind raced. These clues confirmed what the locals had whispered and what Tom had warned her about. Beneath the hotel lay something sinister, hidden for decades, preserved in shadows and fear. She felt a mixture of dread and exhilaration. This was the story she had been seeking. Yet the closer she came, the more dangerous it felt. As she carefully replaced the photographs and maps, a faint creak echoed above. Someone or something was moving in the hotel, tracking her progress. She froze, listening to the silence. The hidden truths beneath the Holloway Hotel were not meant to be discovered, and she had only just begun. The trapdoor led Evelyn into a narrow stone passage, damp and cold, the air thick with the scent of earth and decay. Her lamp flickered against the walls, revealing rough-hewn stone and faint scratch marks that twisted and turned like an arcane map. Each step echoed in the silence, amplifying her sense that something unseen watched her. The weight of the hotel above pressed down, as though it were aware of her intrusion. At the end of the passage, she found a heavy iron door, rusted at the hinges but still functional. Symbols similar to those she had seen carved into the beams upstairs or etched across its surface, triangles and spirals that seemed almost alive in the wavering candlelight. With a deep breath, Evelyn pushed the door open. The chamber beyond was unlike anything she had imagined. The room was small but meticulously preserved, lit faintly by a series of oil lamps mounted along the walls. Wooden shelves lined the stone, holding a collection of strange, ritualistic artifacts. Bowls blackened with soot, jars of unknown contents, and ceremonial knives arranged in deliberate patterns suggested a history steeped in darkness. On a pedestal in the center of the room rested a book, bound in cracked leather, pages yellowed and brittle. Symbols identical to those carved around the hotel decorated the cover. Evelyn's hands shook as she opened it, revealing detailed instructions for rituals that were clearly meant to maintain control or power. Some pages hinted at human sacrifices, with names and dates meticulously recorded. Among the names were several that matched those she had seen in the ledgers, and photographs. The room seemed to hum with a cold, oppressive energy. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls, as if the very air was thick with memories of the past. Evelyn ran her fingers over the inscriptions on the wall's messages written by those who had tried to warn others away. Leave while you still can. The hollow hungers. Curiosity brings death. She stepped closer to a crate in the corner, opening it with a sense of trepidation. Inside were personal belongings of long-lost guests. A pocket watch stopped at midnight, a child's toy, a woman's shawl. It was chilling to imagine that these objects were the only remnants of people who had vanished into this hidden chamber, leaving behind nothing but echoes of their lives. A sudden noise made her jump, a faint scraping, coming from the far side of the chamber. She froze, heart racing. The shadows seemed to shift on their own, stretching toward her as if aware of her presence. For a moment, Evelyn wondered if she was imagining it, but the air grew colder, heavier, pressing against her chest. Then Henry's voice came from the shadows, low and measured. "I see you found it," he said, stepping into the dim light. His eyes glinted with an unsettling mixture of pride and menace. "You shouldn't be here, Evelyn. Some truths are dangerous. Some knowledge comes with a price." Evelyn turned to face him, defiance burning despite her fear. "You've been hiding this for decades. People disappeared. Families were destroyed. All for what? Power? Tradition?" Henry's expression hardened. "The hollow gives strength. It preserves the family. Those who trespass, who pry too deeply, they invite consequences. You could leave now, and I might let you. But you're already too curious, too determined." Evelyn's eyes swept the chamber again, noting the patterns of the artifacts, the careful placement of objects, the meticulous record-keeping. It was a shrine, a prison, and a warning all at once. The Holloway Hotel was alive in a way she hadn't comprehended, its secret guarded fiercely by both the living and the memory of the dead. A shiver ran down her spine as she realized that uncovering the chamber was only the beginning. The rituals, the sacrifices, the terror. It had all been waiting for someone to notice. And now she was in its center. The oppressive air thickened, and Evelyn knew instinctively that she couldn't linger. But leaving meant risking discovery by Henry, and perhaps something else, something older, that still haunted the hidden corridors beneath the hotel. She quickly took notes, photographing the artifacts and symbols, every detail a testament to the horrors she had found. As she prepared to retreat, a faint whisper echoed from the walls themselves. "The hollow remembers, and it waits." Evelyn's blood ran cold. She realized that the story she had come to tell was far darker than anything she had imagined. And whatever secrets lay buried beneath the Holloway Hotel, they were far from finished with her. Evelyn backed slowly from the center of the chamber, her lamp casting trembling light over the ritual artifacts. Henry's figure emerged fully from the shadows, tall and imposing, his eyes gleaming with a mix of anger and cold calculation. The warmth of the lamps did nothing to dispel the chill radiating from him. "You shouldn't be here," Henry said, his voice low, deliberate. "Some things, some people, aren't meant to be disturbed." Evelyn swallowed, trying to steady her trembling voice. I can't ignore this. The Holloway Hotel has been hiding terrible secrets for decades. People disappeared. Families were destroyed. You've been covering it up. Henry's gaze hardened. Covering it up? No, Evelyn. We protect it. The Hollow. It is more than stone and wood. It is tradition, power, and it demands respect. Those who do not respect it pay the price. She took a tentative step closer, notebook clutched tightly. You're talking about sacrifices, aren't you? The artifacts, the records, the missing people. How can you justify this? Henry's expression remained unflinching. It is not justification, you will understand. The Hollow preserves our family's legacy. Without it, everything crumbles. Power, influence, the very foundation of what we have built. Evelyn shook her head, fear and outrage warring inside her. This isn't legacy. This is horror. Innocent people were used, disappeared, never to be remembered, except in whispers. Henry sighed, almost regretfully. Innocent? Perhaps. But sacrifice is part of the cost of continuity. And you are dangerously curious. Curiosity has a price, Evelyn. I have seen it before. A cold draft swept through the chamber, flickering the lamps. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls, and Evelyn felt them pressing closer, as if the room itself were alive and listening. The oppressive presence of the Hollow seemed to pulse around them, confirming the danger in Henry's words. She gritted her teeth. I'm leaving this place with evidence. The world will know the truth. Henry's smile was thin, almost amused. The world will not believe you. You are already too deep, and once you step further, the Hollow will not let you go. You think leaving will save you? It will not. This place, it remembers. It waits. It sees. Evelyn's heart pounded. A determination burned brighter than fear. Then I will risk it. I can't let you bury this forever. Henry's face darkened, his patience thinning. Very well. If you insist on defiance, then you will learn that the Hollow does not forgive easily. He moved closer, his hand brushing the edge of one of the ritual knives. Evelyn instinctively stepped back, the metallic scent of iron filling the air. The tension was unbearable. Every creak, every whisper from the walls, every flicker of light felt amplified. Henry's presence was almost suffocating, yet Evelyn refused to retreat. She had come for the truth, and she would not leave without it. You think you can expose what generations have guarded? Henry hissed, his voice like steel against stone. I will not let your curiosity endanger what has been preserved for over a century. Evelyn's eyes scanned the chamber, absorbing every artifact, every symbol, every note she had photographed. She realized the magnitude of what she had uncovered and the stakes of defying Henry. One wrong move could cost her life, yet one brave act could reveal a hidden horror to the world. A loud creak echoed from above, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching the chamber. Henry's head snapped toward the sound, and Evelyn seized the moment. Using the narrow space between a shelf and the wall, she edged backward toward the crawl space she had entered from, clutching her notebook and camera. You will not leave. Henry roared, finally breaking from his calm, and lunged. Evelyn's heart leapt as she slid into the narrow passage, the walls scraping against her arms. The chamber seemed to pulse with life, shadows writhing as if alive, and Henry's voice echoed behind her. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she crawled, adrenaline surging. She had survived the confrontation, but she knew this was only the beginning. Henry's fury and the Hollow's hidden power were forces she would need to face again. The secrets of the Holloway Hotel were alive, and they were far from finished with her. Evelyn's heart pounded as she crawled through the narrow passage, the weight of the Holloway Hotel pressing down on her. Dust and cobwebs coated her hands, and the damp stone scraped against her clothes. but fear sharpened her senses. Behind her, Henry's voice echoed, growing louder with every frantic step. "You cannot leave. The Hollow does not forgive." She reached the chamber where she had first discovered the artifacts, only to find the trapdoor she had entered through partially closed, as if the hotel itself were conspiring against her escape. Panic surged. She yanked it open just as Tom's rough hand reached through the opening. "Hurry!" he hissed, pulling her into the crawl space. The passage narrowed further, forcing them to crawl on hands and knees. Every step was met with a distant creak from above, a reminder that Henry, or perhaps the Hollow itself, was pursuing them. The air grew colder, heavier, as if the unseen presence in the walls were breathing alongside them. Whispers drifted through the darkness, indistinct yet insistent, urging them forward. Suddenly, the floor beneath Evelyn's hand gave way slightly, revealing a shallow pit filled with jagged rocks. She froze for a moment, then leapt backward, heart hammering, as Tom warned her in a low voice. "Watch every step. This hotel isn't just hiding secrets. It's a trap." They moved quickly, guided only by the faint light of the lamp Tom carried. The crawl space twisted and turned like a labyrinth, walls narrowing and expanding, revealing old, forgotten chambers filled with debris and relics. Evelyn's mind raced, cataloging everything she had seen. Artifacts, photographs, symbols, all pieces of a horrifying puzzle she was determined to survive and expose. A sudden crash behind them sent her heart into her throat. Henry had discovered their path, and the heavy iron door at the end of the previous chamber had slammed shut, cutting off their initial exit. Shadows danced in the flickering lamplight, forming grotesque shapes that seemed to reach for them. Evelyn's breath came in ragged gasps as she scrambled forward, clutching her notebook tightly. Through a narrow opening, they found themselves in a hidden service tunnel, long forgotten and littered with broken furniture and fallen beams. Tom led the way, his knowledge of the building's layout guiding them past hazards, loose stones, low-hanging beams, and sections where the floor had partially collapsed. Every step brought the sense of imminent danger closer. "Almost there," Tom whispered, his voice tense. "Just past this bend, we might find the old service exit. It's risky, but it's our best chance." Evelyn nodded, forcing herself to keep pace despite exhaustion. She could feel the oppressive energy of the Hollow intensifying, pressing against her chest, whispering of doom. It was as though the hotel itself were alive, determined to prevent their escape. They reached a section where the tunnel widened slightly, revealing a trapdoor leading outside. Relief surged through Evelyn. Freedom seemed within reach. But the sound of footsteps and a low, guttural growl froze her in place. Shadows shifted unnaturally along the tunnel walls, stretching and twisting toward them. Henry appeared at the end of the passage, his face twisted with rage. "You think you can take what belongs to the Hollow?" he shouted. "You will not leave alive." Tom stepped forward, brandishing a rusted wrench he had grabbed from the debris. "Move, Evelyn. Don't hesitate." Evelyn darted forward, following Tom as he kicked the trapdoor open. The chill night air of the Smoky Mountains hit her face, a welcome relief from the suffocating darkness of the tunnels. They climbed out onto the rocky slope behind the hotel, scrambling over roots and boulders. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew fainter, but the sense of being watched lingered as they put distance between themselves and the Holloway Hotel. Evelyn glanced back. The building loomed like a dark sentinel, shadows clinging to its weathered facade. Something within it still moved, still waited. Though they had escaped for now, she knew the Hollow had marked them. Its secrets were far from fully revealed, and the danger was far from over. Panting and covered in grime, Evelyn turned to Tom. "We made it, but we can't let this go. The world needs to know what's beneath that hotel." Tom nodded, though his expression remained grim. "Be careful. The Hollow doesn't forgive easily. And Henry, he's more dangerous than you think." Evelyn held her notebook tighter, determination shining through her exhaustion. The horrors of the underground chamber, the ritual artifacts, the missing guests, they all demanded to be revealed. She would survive. She would uncover the truth. But one thing was certain. The Holloway Hotel was alive, and it would not let its secrets die quietly. The night air outside the Holloway Hotel was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and distant smoke. Evelyn crouched behind a cluster of boulders, notebook and camera clutched to her chest, heart still racing from their escape. Tom sat beside her, wiping sweat and grime from his face. The hotel loomed above them, dark and foreboding, like a sentinel guarding centuries-old secrets. Evelyn flipped through the pages of her notebook, reviewing every detail, the photographs of missing guests, the ledgers with names and dates, the ritual artifacts she had documented in the underground chamber. Each entry painted a chilling picture, a story of obsession, sacrifice, and dark preservation that had remained hidden for generations. "We need to get these records out," Evelyn said, her voice low but determined. "People need to know the truth. The Holloway Hotel can't hide this anymore." Tom nodded slowly, concern etched on his weathered face. "Just be careful. Once this gets out, you won't know who to trust. The Hollow, it's not just Henry. The place has a way of protecting itself. People disappear, rumors spread. You think everyone wants the truth? Not all of them." Evelyn's hands tightened around her notebook. "And I'll make sure they see it. Every piece of evidence, every name, every artifact. They can't deny it." The following weeks were grueling. Evelyn pored over her notes, meticulously compiling a report of her findings. She contacted newspapers and journals, submitting photographs, diagrams, and transcriptions of Henry's ledger. The story she had unearthed was horrifying, yet undeniable, at least to her. But the reaction was not what she expected. Editors dismissed the account as sensationalist, calling it folklore and exaggeration. The photographs of the ritual artifacts were dismissed as props or misinterpretations. Letters and ledgers were deemed inconclusive. Evelyn felt the weight of frustration pressing down on her. Despite the evidence, the world refused to acknowledge the horrors she had witnessed. Still, she refused to give up. She organized her research, creating detailed illustrations of the hidden chambers, maps of the secret tunnels, and diagrams of the ritual spaces. Every symbol, every artifact, every note became part of a narrative that demanded attention. She sent copies to historians, journalists, and even law enforcement, hoping someone would take the claims seriously. Meanwhile, the memory of the Holloway Hotel never left her. Nightmares haunted her, sleep shadows moving beneath floors, whispers in empty hallways, Henry's cold, unyielding eyes. She could still feel the oppressive energy of the Hollow, a reminder that the secrets were alive, waiting, and perhaps even following her despite public disbelief. Evelyn's determination only grew. She began giving lectures and presentations in small towns, speaking of the hidden Hollow, of the rituals, and of the vanished patrons. She warned of the danger of curiosity and the price of uncovering secrets better left buried. Some listeners were intrigued, some skeptical, and some visibly frightened. Still, it was a start away to ensure the story, at least in part, survived. Through it all, Evelyn realized a hard truth. The Holloway Hotel had survived for over a century because people ignored it, dismissed it, and forgot it. Now the question was whether she could break that cycle, whether she could make the world pay attention before the Hollow claimed more victims. Sitting at her desk late one evening, she gazed at the photos of the underground chamber, the artifacts, the ledger entries. The room seemed to pulse in the memory of what she had witnessed. She knew she had done all she could, but the shadows of the Hollow still lingered. Somewhere, hidden beneath the mountains, the hotel waited. And she understood. The story was far from over. The evidence had been recorded, the truth documented, yet history's indifference was its own kind of darkness. Evelyn's story would endure, even if the world refused to believe it. And in that endurance, the Holloway Hotel's sinister secret would live on, a haunting presence just beyond the edge of knowledge. Weeks had passed since. Evelyn's reports and photographs circulated among historians, journalists, and small-town audiences. Though many dismissed her work as fiction or folklore, she knew the truth lingered beneath the surface, stubborn and unyielding, just like the Holloway Hotel itself. She could feel its shadow, even from miles away, a dark presence that refused to be ignored. Late one evening, Evelyn returned to the edge of the Smoky Mountains, drawn by a restless curiosity she could neither deny nor quell. The forest was silent, save for the rustle of wind through pine needles. From a distance, the Holloway Hotel's silhouette loomed, dark and imposing, perched atop its ridge like a watchful guardian. Faint light flickered from its windows, though she knew the building had been largely abandoned since the last incident. The closer she got, the more the memories came back. The hidden tunnels, the ritual chamber, the whispers that seemed to cling to the walls themselves. Each step toward the hotel reminded her that the hollow was more than wood, stone, and history. It was alive, an entity shaped by generations of secrecy, fear, and ritual. Evelyn's pulse quickened. She had escaped once, but the hollow never truly released its hold. She paused near the tree line, observing the hotel through the gathering dusk. The building seemed to shift subtly, shadows lengthening unnaturally across the facade. Faint movements flickered behind the window shapes she couldn't identify. Not human, not entirely. Her stomach churned. Had the hollow grown restless in her absence? Or was it merely waiting for the next curious soul to wander too close? A soft breeze carried the faintest whisper. The hollow remembers. It waits. Evelyn's hair rose on end. She pressed her hand to her chest, reminding herself that she had survived before, and that she carried proof of its secrets. Yet a shiver ran through her. Survival didn't mean freedom. The hotel had claimed pieces of her already, her fear, her sleepless nights, her relentless obsession. She thought of Henry Holloway, his cold gaze and unyielding insistence that some truths must remain buried. He had been a guardian, yes, but also a warning. The hollow would protect itself, and any who trespassed faced consequences beyond mere mortal comprehension. Evelyn had learned that firsthand, and the memory of the underground chamber, the artifacts, the sacrifices, the long-lost guests haunted her still. Evelyn turned away from the hotel, walking back through the shadowed forest toward the safety of the town below. Yet even as she moved, the sense of being watched never faded. The mountains themselves seemed alive, holding the secrets of centuries beneath their roots and cliffs. She realized then that the Holloway Hotel was not just a building, nor was it simply history. It was a presence that transcended time, a memory of evil and obsession carved into stone and wood, waiting for recognition. Back in her modest inn, Evelyn laid out her notes and photographs once more. Though the world had largely ignored her revelations, she refused to let the Holloway Hotel vanish into obscurity. Its story would endure, whispered in lectures, recorded in journals, and passed along to those brave or foolish enough to listen. Late at night, as she finally prepared for sleep, Evelyn felt a familiar chill. It was not the wind. It was the presence she had sensed from the moment she first arrived at the Holloway Hotel, the lingering, restless force beneath the mountains, patient and watchful. She knew it had not forgotten her, nor her curiosity, nor the truths she had unearthed. The final thought lingered as she drifted into uneasy slumber. Some secrets are never truly gone. They wait, buried in shadows, in the hollows beneath old buildings, in the spaces between history and memory. And the Holloway Hotel, with its dark corridors and sinister past, would always be there silent, watching, and waiting for the next story to unfold.